should have been a cowboy. I should have learned to rope ride.
And just like that, Philippe's, we're back. How you doing, my brother?
I am good and very interested to know what is in that cup, that very intricate cup you have.
If you guys don't know yet, we do drop these episodes on YouTube. So if you want to see some of our faces and our guests, this is a really cool mug that Tiger got me from a medieval fair, I think actually is where this one, like a LARPing convention.
Wow. And what is in the cup, Cole?
I have what we call a lateze, which is basically a latte, but just how we make it, which is with an incredible amount of spicy cinnamon honey. It's freaking good, dude.
I like it. Latizis.
Lateze, my brah.
That should be a new segment of our show. What's in the cup?
Oh, it's urine.
Oh dear, that took a turn. All right, Cowboy Cole. I am currently in Brazil making the long trek back to Calgary. Last we spoke, I was in Patagonia,
Mhm.
and you have moved as well. Where are you at?
We made her back down to Whitman, Arizona. So, as we found out a couple episodes ago, Cowboy Cole was denied access back to the US, and I was told try again in 20 to 30 days. That's exactly what I did, Felipe. Got myself a flight booked, which was kind of funny because it ended up being the same flight that my buddy Lambert and Denver Roy were on.
I saw that just
Yeah,
randomly though.
I guess, yeah. I mean, Lambo was coming down here to see his girlfriend, and Denver was coming down here to drive a truck and trailer home for some friends of his. And we kind of all just started messaging around to each other, like, "Hey, what time's your flight on that Tuesday?" And I was like, "Oh, like 4:30. Get in at 7." Lambo's like, "I'm on the same one." So then he went up to the airport with mom and dad and I. They dropped us off, and then Denver showed up about a half hour after us. It was awesome.
That's so funny, bro. It's funny how that happens, right? Like there's so many flights every day, and all of a sudden you're with like two buddies on a random flight. But talk us through going to the airport. What was it like? Was it easy breezy? Did they take you to the tiny room? What happened?
Dude, I was so nervous going to the airport. Like, it was just on my mind all day. I woke up, had a good sleep, but like, I would look at my phone and be like, okay, it's 8 a.m. I've got like 7 hours until I go to this airport. Like,
Oh
holy
dear.
shit. Walking into the building, man, the nerves are banging on me for sure. Cause I was just like, what if, right? All the what ifs. I'd been hearing horror stories of people trying again, getting denied again, getting a year ban, getting a 3-year ban, like just crazy shit. So I was pretty nervous, but I did what the lady asked me to do. I had the return flight home. I had that stuff in order, so I'm just like, what are they going to do, right? So I go up there, make it through security. My carry-on bag did get searched through, which there were more people
Ooh.
than I've ever seen standing around that table waiting for a border agent to go through their stuff, man. Like probably 12 of
Wow.
us. And they were just
Wow.
constantly pulling bags, pulling bags, pulling bags. So that was pretty locked down. Get in line, go through the frickin' go through all the ropes, get to the guy. Now the guy's asking me questions. Where are you going? What are you doing? When you coming back? Why? All this stuff. And then he's looking at the computer, and sure as shit, he looks at me and goes, "So what happened last time you tried to enter?" And I was just like, "Oh man." So I ran him through it, told him exactly about, I was getting close to my days and I didn't have a return flight home and blah blah blah, and told him the story, and he was like, "Okay, well, we're gonna need to have all of that reconfirmed at our secondary desk, so follow me." Gets up,
Wow.
off to the little room we go, my brother.
Oh,
So off we go over there. Beep, he scans us. Through the door we go, walk down that tiny hallway. It opens up. I look over to where the people are at the computer. It's the same lady that kicked me out the
no.
last time I was at the airport.
Oh,
So in
the
my
last
head,
person you want to see
yeah,
behind
dude.
that desk. Like,
In my head, I'm like, this is gonna go one of two ways. She's gonna be happy with me that I did all this shit, or she's gonna be like, "You dumb son of a gun, get out of my
yeah.
country," right? Like,
Yeah.
so I sit down, watching their crazy little television in there. This time I used their water fountain. I was like, come on, I'm gonna use your shit this time. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna be a scared little boy sitting in this chair. Use their water fountain. She calls my name. I grab my bag. I go walking up there. I don't even make it halfway to the desk, and this lady's like, "Mr. Robertson, didn't I just meet you not that long ago?" I was like, "You did actually, about a month ago.
Wow.
You told me to try
Remembers
again in
you.
20, 30 days, so here I am." And she's like, "Do you have that return flight home like I told you to get?" I'm like, "I do, actually. I do. Would you like to see it?" She's like, "No, no, I don't need to see it." So I was like, "Okay, okay." Like, I thought that was kind of weird.
Wow. I hate that. They make you do this stuff and then they don't want to see it. Like
Yeah,
that pisses me off so
it
much.
was crazy. So she scanned my current boarding pass. She asked me all the same questions. We talked about Arizona again. We talked about Tiger again. And then she goes, "How's your how's your business thing? You were wearing some kind of crazy hoodie that day, and I was like, oh yeah, my hot rodeo mom's hoodie. I'm actually wearing the t-shirt right now, and I was wearing a Kime shirt, so I like unbuttoned that, kind of showed her a little bit, and she laughed. She's like, yeah, a couple days after I met you, I saw you on Instagram. I saw you in a reel, and now I see you in your shirt everywhere. And I'm like, no way. She's like, yeah, I saw you, and I was like, oh, I actually just met that guy. And then I was like, oh,
That's
I actually just kicked that guy out of the US. And she laughed. She's like, well, yeah, but I mean, fortunately for you this time, I'm gonna let you in. And I was like, oh my God,
oh
thank you so, so, so much.
wow. It'd be funny if she was wearing like the hoodie. She got there, she was wearing your
Yeah,
hoodie.
she
I'm like,
orders it. She's rocking it underneath her vest. That would have been
bro,
rank.
what are the chances? Like that's how crazy social media is though. Like
Yes.
it must have heard you or something. Or did she ask you about the shirt? Did you say it out loud when you were talking to her the first time?
Not the first time.
Bro,
Not at
that
all,
is
dude. I was just
wild.
standing there like this deer in the headlights with this giant graphic that says I love hot rodeo moms, and this lady's grilling me about the days I've been in the US, and then like 2, 3 days after, she's like, oh, I met that guy.
I didn't let that guy enter my country. What a nice fella.
Yeah, right?
Let me
So
buy some of his merch.
once she started talking to me about my hot rodeo moms, in my brain, I was like, oh, it's a lock. I'm good. Like, she knows I got a sense of humor. She knows I'm not trying to pull a fast one on her. Like, I'm just a boy from the barnyard, right? Like, come on.
A boy from the barnyard. I feel like that's like a novel, a romance novel for sale at
It's like
Walmart right now.
Boys in the Hood just with Clint Eastwood. That's all.
Oh dear. Well, I'm glad to hear you made it back to the US, buddy. It sucks. I know what all of that's like, the anxiety that starts to build up the night before as you go to the airport, as you're headed towards the person sitting behind the desk when they send you to the little room. So I'm glad it all worked out. And how long are you going to be down there for? You're coming back to Saskatoon in a few days, right?
Yeah, that's right. So we're going to leave Whitman, Arizona on the 29th of March. I do believe that'll be the day we take off. We go back to Fort Collins. We're going to put the horses up um, at at a place just outside of Fort Collins, get the RV parked. I'm going to fly back to go to Saskatoon, work that gig. Then I got to
Yeah.
come back to Denver, get the horses, my truck, Tiger's trailer, get the horses back to Canada. So that's where it's really funny. Is like when the guy is like, what are you doing down there and stuff? And I was like, well, funny story about you bringing up why I was denied last time is because last trip was
Yeah.
supposed to be me go down, get the rigs packed up, get them north. I'm like, so now
Wow.
that's what this trip is like go back, enjoy the last handful of days in Arizona rope,
Yeah.
and then the kids are rigging up and moving on.
Ultimately, they just made it harder for you to leave the country,
Yes, 1000%.
right?
You delayed me leaving your country.
Yeah. Which is the reason which is what got us here in the first place. That's so
Yes.
funny. But glad to hear you made it, buddy. Today we have a big episode. I'm so excited.
Hmm.
We're going to talk to Nicole Silveira. She's a Brazilian Canadian skeleton racer. That's right, the people that dive headfirst
Yes.
into a freaking slide made of ice. And I don't know how fast they go, but they reach insane speeds. She is like breaking all the records for Brazil. She's sitting fourth in the world right now. She's been to the Olympics. She's won 2 medals for Brazil in the World Cup of skeleton racing. So I'm super excited to talk to her. And have you ever tried skeleton racing, Cowboy Cole?
I mean, at home on the ranch when you take the toboggan down head first, but I've never
So
hopped in the
no, no.
tube and sent it.
Okay, well, by the end of this, we are going to try to get a day for you to suit up and try the sport. Would you do it?
Yeah, as long as I get to wear the tight onesie. If I don't get to wear the tight onesie, I'm not doing it.
All right, let's go. Let's talk to Nicole. Good morning, Nicole. How are you?
Hey,
I'm good,
Nicole.
thanks. How are you?
Oh my God, that shirt is so beautiful. How do I get myself one of those shirts? Is it only people
Well,
that make it to the Olympics?
well, this one actually got gifted to me from one of the athletics people back when we were sponsored by Nike, which is no longer a thing. So
No way. So who sponsors Brazil now?
we're with Peak. I don't know if you know Peak. It's a Chinese brand.
Okay, Chinese taking over the world. I hope
Yeah,
it's a good brand.
good quality for sure.
Oh, that's nice. Well, thank you so much for making the time to be with us. Cole's also an Albertan. Do you still live in Calgary? Like, is that where your residence is?
Myself, or sorry, I thought you were
Yeah.
asking about Cole. Yeah, I still live. I still live in Calgary. So we kind of, my partner and I, we actually made Calgary officially home last summer. We bought a house. So yeah,
Nice.
Calgary is officially home.
You
Congratulations. I actually, Cole, I got to go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask about the accent, because I know I still catch a bit of Brazilian with Felipe, I feel like, but how long have you been in Alberta? Because I'm not catching too much of like that kind of Portuguese drawl.
Yeah, for sure. I moved when I was 7, so I guess I lost that accent a long time ago. I moved back to Brazil a little bit in between and kind of picked up my Portuguese that I had lost from being here so young. So now, yeah, most people don't think that I'm Brazilian because I don't have that accent, but as soon as you hear my parents speak, you hear it.
And what's Nicole? I never asked you this. I got to meet you a few years ago at a Brazilian event, actually, which was awesome. What brought your parents to Canada?
Just a better lifestyle for us. They used to own a bakery in Brazil, and there was a lot of crime involved, and they kind of got tired of it and decided to move away. And at the time, my dad or my parents had Googled the best city to live in, and at the time, number one, or what they had seen as number one, was Miami. So my dad actually went off to Miami by himself just to explore things before he moved the whole family, and he said there were too many Brazilians, so it was like a better Brazil. So then they went with option two, which was Calgary.
Wow,
I wonder if Miami
Miami,
was,
Calgary,
yeah,
one,
Yeah,
two.
yeah, extreme temperature places, but
yeah, no doubt. I wonder if Miami
I
was top on the list because Scarface had just come out or something.
probably something like that. But I am very
But
happy we're in Canada these days.
Oh, 100%. I think he made the right choice, and I think it ended up changing the trajectory of your life, right? Like you're
For
now
sure.
into winter sports. You're taking Brazil to the highest places in the podium. It's so amazing what you're doing. I'm so proud of you and everything you've accomplished. You've just had a big fourth place finish in the World Cup. I wanted to start with that. Tell us about, what that felt like. I saw how emotional it was. Everyone in Brazil posting. It's such a big deal. Tell us a little bit about that moment.
Yeah, for sure. It was a hard week. It was the last week of our season, which was a long one. So it was kind of a grind to get to. It was our World Championships in Lake Placid in upstate New York. And yeah, I was dealing with a little bit of concussion or concussion-like symptoms. So it was a bit of a rough week for me, kind of taking it day by day. I wasn't even sure if I was going to compete yet. Um, but we had all this, like we had the Brazilian Olympic Committee was out there, and we had our Olympic or our sorry, our Ice Federation was out there too. So there was a lot of people, and it was this big buildup. So I was a bit under pressure, let's just say. But I'm very happy that I was able to mentally pull it together, I guess. And yeah, I don't think I would have imagined to have finished fourth place. I guess it was, I finished my last run and found out I was in fourth. And the he used to be the president of our federation. He's like, do you know that this is the best result Brazil has ever had at a world champs in the last, well, ever? And then I guess the last one was 12th place, I want to say, like over 20 years ago. So yeah, it was, that went, I was like, oh, damn, like, that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. That's got to be a huge motivation to just keep hustling and keep grinding. And what is the process like to get to that position to try and win a fourth place at the World Championship?
It's long. I think competing for Brazil, I'm the first one to, I guess, have full seasons and compete in a World Cup circuit. This is my seventh season that I just completed, which in our sport, I guess, is quite short to have achieved what I did. So I'm super grateful for that. But I did have a lot of background with different sports, which I think helped me get to where I am today. But being alone, I guess, and paving my own path had its struggles. And I think there's positives and negatives in it. The negatives being I kind of had to learn the hard way at sometimes, and kind of just trial and error and see what the best route for me was. I couldn't really just follow a big nation that knew what they were doing and were fully supported. So I had to kind of, well, start by just learning by myself, kind of, and have one coach that helped me at the time. A lot of bruises, a lot of injuries in the beginning, and still happens every now and then, but a lot of beating up before I actually learned how to control the sled, let's just say. So it was a lot of, I would say, grind and yeah, this season was kind of I had a click and things just I had great results all season long, not just at World Champs. So it's something that I never thought was actually possible. But
Yeah, it just to me it seems like one of the hardest sports anyone could propose to do because you're running as fast as you can down an ice toboggan. How fast are you reaching? Like what speeds are you reaching?
it depends really on the track. But the fastest I've gone was in Whistler, here in Canada, in BC. And there I went 144 kilometers per hour. But that's kind of the fastest that you get to
Wow.
on a track. I would say on average between 120, 130-ish.
120, 130 an hour. The only protection you have is your helmet. Like you're not even wearing padding, correct? Like it's just that little suit.
Yeah, just a speed suit. We have a mouth guard and a helmet.
A mouth guard and a helmet. What is like you learning?
Sound
Like the
like a bull
learning curve
rider.
must be insane. Like what's yeah, I think it's worse than bull riding. They're not going that fast. What is the like what's the worst injury you've faced?
I think longest and probably hardest has been the concussion. I think it's one of those tricky injuries where it's not physically visible, but you just don't feel right. And it's hard to fix because it's your brain, right? So it's just a lot of rest and trying to play with your symptoms. But that's, I think, the biggest problem with our sport is our faces or our heads are like centimeters from the ice, and then when you hit a corner that has a lot of G pressure, your head is actually on the ice, and ice is not super. Depends how they make the ice, but it's not super smooth. So there's always little micro vibrations. And from time, and especially near the end of the season where we've had this accumulation of runs, micro concussions are a thing. And then if you do have like more abrupt exits from corners, which is what happened to me, then you get kind of either like a whiplash effect is more like it. So I would say that was probably has been the hardest one to deal with because it's nothing physical, nothing you can just go to I don't know, just tape up and you're good to go kind of thing. But my actually very first World Cup that I was very nervous for because it was the first race that cameras were there and it was a new track I had never learned before. It was during COVID season, so they had just changed the training arrangement from 3 days of training to 2 days of training. And anyway, I think it was the last training run. I crashed out of one of the corners and pretty much tore ligaments in my left ankle, and that was tough because I was in mid-season. It was literally the beginning of the season. So I had to kind of just tape it up and keep it going. And then when I had a break in between, try and get that treated. Um, and I would say what else? I had a one crash where I landed on my left shoulder and then kind of didn't tear, but I sprained my clavicle and the joint on the end. But I would say that's pretty much it. I've been very lucky with some of the crashes that I've had. And honestly, when you watch Skeleton and when I guess in theory it sounds super dangerous, but normally you're not hitting anything like head first because it's just an open track. It's more the side to side bumps and you hitting your arms against an ice wall going really fast and you get a little bit of ice burn or you get just bruising. And then the concussions are obviously a thing, but it's not super common.
That's nice. I got I got a big time question about the track that you guys race because when I think of an ice sport, I go right to hockey, run the Zamboni, let's play. But that's not the same case for you guys. When you talked about like the microwaves and the ice and everything, like it is essentially just a big, long, half open cement tube that they poured some water in and correct, right? Like, so how do they make, and you talked about like how they make the ice, depends on how they make the ice and stuff like that. So, like, what is the process for setting up your guys' track for a world championship, for an Olympics, and then how do you cater and adjust to the ice?
For sure. Each track is different. Most tracks, except for one, which is the OG track of them all in St. Moritz, Switzerland, they're all made of cement, and then they have a cooling system underneath. So in the summer, we can't slide because it just can't maintain the ice. But when it starts getting cold, they actually just spray water. Like they turn the cooling on, they spray water, and then they just keep on layering it until there's a thicker layer of ice. And then it really depends too on the how late or early in the season you go to a track, and the ice conditions will look different in terms of there's more ice buildup. So then the corners, the entrances and exits of corners, or even the middle of the corners, can be different. So then you have to manage that corner in a different way than you would preseason versus end of the season. And then it's like I mentioned, that's the OG track, and they actually build it all by hand. So there's no concrete, there's no like if you go there in the summer, it's just flat, pretty much land. And then there's a really cool video online that shows all these guys making it by hand. So they pretty much freeze ice or freeze water, make ice, and then build these walls. And every year that track is slightly different because it's handmade, but the theory of it is all the same. And then on top of that is just how, so once they've built the ice on the track in the beginning of the season, they have to maintain it. So they spritz it. So they put thin layers of water, which makes it go depending on the weather outside. Like it's super finicky, and it's a lot of preparation. Then we have to look at the weather a lot, and it's very weather dependent. Like humidity of the air will affect how the ice functions or how it works. For example, if it's too humid and too warm, if you have a race and you're number one off, they always prep the track. So prepping means they're going to spritz it before and kind of let it set so that you have faster ice. But if you're first off, you're going to have that fast ice. But now if you're 30th off, that ice has now cooled because they have to turn the cooling machines on to keep the ice from melting. So then you start building frost, which slows the ice down. So it's this whole like science thing that you have to figure out. And depending on the ice condition, you're going to choose. So what we change on our sled is the runners. So underneath the sled, there's steel blades pretty much, and they're round, and there's nothing on them at all until the very bottom of the runner. There's like about this much of knife, we call it. So the knives are cut different in different angles, different lengths, and that's kind of what digs into the ice when we're under pressure. So you have to adapt how your knives work depending on the ice conditions. So that's a lot of what our training runs are just testing to be like, okay, the weather is going to be very similar to today. So we'll do one run with one runner and another run with a second runner, and then kind of compare to see. But then if you have complete different runs and different mistakes, it's very hard to decide which runner is best. And then in terms of preparing the ice as well, so once they've laid out the ice, they have these tools, these scrapers, and they go off by hand. And some tracks have machines that do it through like arms kind of thing, but they're just scrapers that go and scrape the ice. And these guys, they know what they're doing because they have to know what shape to build the ice, how to make entrances, how to make exits. So it's super complex.
Damn. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I imagine it being complex, but it's way more complex than I imagine. And it also reminded me of barrel racing and rodeo. You want to be first, so the ground is faster. You know what I mean? So that's funny. Barrel racers are very finicky as well. That also reminded me of that. Tell me about Brazil. Does not get cold in Brazil. There's no ice. So where do you guys train out of? And does like the entire Brazilian delegation have a home? Or does like the hockey players train in one place, bobsledders in another, skeletons? How does that all work?
For sure. I think it's super ironic first that I started competing for Brazil once I moved here, because I would never started if I was living in Brazil. Um, but so home is Calgary. In the summer we train. I usually compare it to track and field athletes, so like 100-meter sprinter. That's what we do from like May until September. And then in between there in Calgary, actually, there's an ice house. I don't know if you've ever been to it at Winsport. And it's a facility where you only practice your push, so just the running part and jumping on the sled. And that facility opens in July. So then from July to September, you add that onto your training. and then from September on, you start sliding. But I think I diverged from your question.
No, that's very interesting to me because it's brought a new question. I want to know where I guess your answer is every Brazilian that's out in a different country in the world trains by himself or herself, and
Exactly.
then
We
they.
do have actually a center facility in São Paulo. It's
Okay,
newer in the last, I think, 5 years. So it's the first, I think it's the only, only curling rink. I think I want to say in South America, but there's a curling rink there where some of the curling team trains, but a lot of them are in Vancouver. So we're just kind of spread out, but the federation itself is located in São Paulo.
okay, but just another question from what you were answering. So you're not actually getting on the sled and going down a mountain for months at a time. What's it like when you go back and you got to get on that horse again? Is it just like the first time, or does it go back like riding a bike?
A bit of both. I think as the years accumulate and the experience goes, you get a bit more comfortable. But the first time is always super nerve-wracking because you haven't been on it for like 8 months. All we've
Wow.
been doing is physical training, and the only loading on the sled we've had is when you're training in the ice house and there's grooves on the ice. So you don't actually have to steer anything. You just kind of jump on the sled and you lay there. So the first runs are usually we give ourselves a lot of grace. Like we do our runs and we're like, okay, that was the first run. That's out of the way. Let's actually start getting into it now. But yeah, I would say it's super nerve wracking going in after 8 months of sliding. And honestly, each run is about, I'd say on average 1 minute, so 60 seconds. And you do maximum three a day, more like two. And it's not every day that you can slide because your brain does get, we call it sled head, but it's pretty much micro concussions, but you're in a fog and you need a break. So you can't do it every day. So I think, I forget, my first year of sliding, someone told me it'll be like max 4 hours or even 1 hour that will be on our sleds from that day on until the Olympics. So like in a 4 year circuit, you're actually sliding for like an hour max if you combine all those minutes together, which is nothing. So, but at least it's equal to every athlete, and it's not like anyone has more advantage or not. So
Except maybe the Russians. I could see them having just like a full on show up, go up type track over there and just
probably like
send
a
it, bud.
summer sliding track or something. But right now, they're still not allowed to compete. That's actually been a debate for a while. So as
Hmm.
far as this, up until this year, they were not allowed to come back since the Olympics. We do have a Ukrainian slider, so he's been kind of fighting for them to stay away. So it'll be interesting next year to see if get back in or not.
Yeah, that could be a whole other podcast for show.
For sure.
Two things. One quick fun fact, Felipe, is when I was living in Whistler, working at Roots in the village there, I actually met a couple fellow Olympic sliders and riders. Not on the Brazilian team, but yeah, they would come hang out in Whistler all the time to train and utilize the track over there. And so it was really cool because the one girl, she was literally just killing time because she's like, I literally come here to train. I don't make enough money to spend money in Whistler because it's insanely expensive. She'd just walk around the stores and hang out, and she'd come kind of chat my ear off about being an Olympian and stuff like that, and it was pretty badass.
Totally.
Um,
We my first year we actually I spent, I would say, we have home tracks, so each athlete well normally has a home track. All the Canadians, Whistler is their home track because it's in Canada. Um, Brazil does not have a home track, so I just call a home track wherever I get the most runs. And today I would say I don't really have a home track because it's all pretty equal. But when I started, Whistler was my home track. So yeah, I would go down there, and especially in preseason, where it's kind of like you're just trying to get a feel for sliding and get it better, but there's no like you don't have to super perform, let's just say. So a lot of it is you would go and you slide and it'd be 2 hours or 3 hours of your day max. And then the rest of the day is just what do you do, you know? So
mhm.
I've walked the Whistler Village many, many times.
Hey, it's a nice place to hang out. Freaking
It
loved it there.
is.
I miss it over there all the time. But let's talk a little bit about young Nicole because this is a very odd sport to just kind of find yourself getting into. But I mean, I've also got on the bus and done the field trip, went up to COP went to the top of that thing, was talked to about it as a young kid. But like, I mean, as a kid, I was looking at it like, damn, this is pretty crazy. But in the back of my mind, I was like, well, I got horses to ride and ropes to swing type thing. So like, what was that moment where you looked at this sport and you're like, oh, I could do that. I could do this. This is me.
I don't know if I ever had that moment, to be honest, but ever since I was little, my parents always put me in sports. So I danced when I lived in Brazil. I did gymnastics, then moved to Canada, um, played soccer. So soccer was probably my second most or longest sport, or I would even say longer than skeleton so far. I played competitively for more than 10 years. But in between that and finding skeleton, I did a lot more. So I played volleyball. I did CrossFit. I did weightlifting. The last thing that I was doing, I played rugby as well. And then the last thing that I was doing was bodybuilding. And I had my last show, I think it was July 2017. And at the time, I was working at Popeye's Supplements here in Calgary. And that was my part time job while I was in nursing school. And it was a summer, and I had an old teammate of mine come shopping, and he was chatting, and I tell my partner all the time, like, I can hear a Brazilian accent. I know they're Brazilian just from the accent. And so I heard him speak, and he was speaking English, and then we got talking and found out I was Brazilian as well. And he said, "Hey, we're looking like there's a female bobsled team." So he was part of the men's Brazilian bobsled team that competed out of Calgary.
Wait,
And
let me just ask you this. Is it fact that they're called the frozen bananas?
so that's a different Brazilian team. And fact, they were called that, I think, back in like Sochi games in 2014, I want to say. But
Wow, how has no one made
they've
a movie about this? They need to
I
make
don't
this movie,
know.
the
I don't
frozen
know.
bananas.
There's honestly
Sorry to
so
cut.
much content for a movie in our sports. It's crazy. Um, but yeah, he came shopping, found out, and there was a different team that was training out of Calgary. The pilot's wife had a team for Brazil, but a female team. And they were trying to qualify for the 2018 games in Korea. And at the time, I was kind of on my way out of bodybuilding. I wasn't super enjoying it anymore. And so he was like, "Hey, do you want to try out for the bobsled team? Because at the time there was only two women, and we needed three. It's a two women sport, but you needed a spare kind of thing." So I was like, "Sure, I'll give it a go." But so then I did a year of bobsled. We ended up falling short of qualifying for the Olympic Games. And then I went off to graduate. And then that was when my federation was like, "Hey, we've never had a Brazilian represent Brazil at an Olympic stage for skeleton. Um, did you want to give that a go?" At the time, Calgary actually had that track functioning,
Mhm.
which today it doesn't anymore. But that was actually so then that same year I went and they had public runs in the past. So they would just kind of throw you from halfway down the track, and you just lay there and do nothing because there's not enough speed, or the equipment wouldn't even let you steer. So I did that. We did two runs. I wasn't 100% sure of it because I was like, this is kind of scary. But then I committed. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. So then the year after is when the season, or end of that year is when the season actually started. And yeah, that's kind of how I got into it.
That's so awesome. So this was 2020,
This was 2018.
2018. So you
Yeah.
took 4 years. No, wait, 1920. Yeah, 2022, you qualify for your first Olympic Games, right?
Yeah.
Tell us what the process of those 4 years were like, and what was it like when you finally make it? Like, I can't even imagine for an athlete to be marching down. We always watch the opening of the Olympics. It must be just such a surreal moment.
For sure. Sad enough, I was not allowed or able to participate in the opening ceremony because,
What?
yeah, I was quite upset, but it was COVID times, so there was no public. Like,
Oh.
they were very stringent on like all the rules and stuff, and you could attend, but the Olympic Committee opted to only have minimal people there just to avoid any issues or any chance of getting COVID. So I wasn't able to go, but the process to get there was, like I said, the first year was brutal. I have videos and photos of me just like bruised head to toe, but for whatever reason, I loved it. So I kept at it, and I think it was just that feeling every run I would get a little bit more control over the sled, and then I was learning kind of feeling the pressures and adjusting to them and actually steering and having control over my sled instead of the sled having control over me. So I kept at it the first year. It was brutal, but it was kind of day by day. I remember my first go was in Whistler, and they had like a 2 week camp previous to the first races, and it was the lower circuit, so the North America Cup, which is lower than the World Cup. And I remember like Whistler is one of the most technical, scariest track ever. So normally people don't start learning on that track, but that was what was closest to me and where my coach always trained. So that's where I got beat up the first year. But yeah, the first 2 weeks I was like, oh, I don't think I'll compete, but if I make it to the top of the track by the day of competition, I'll compete. So Whistler, there's like three different starts lower down from the top. So you kind of start working your way up as you do the lowest run. And if you feel comfortable and you're sliding well, then you move up until you get to the top. Long story short, I made it to the top before the competition. So I ended up competing and then kind of just took off that season already doing all of North America's Cup. There was one coach that decided to take me on, and he was already following. I think we were with Team Japan at the time. He was already following them, and they already had these plans to go to North America Cup and do the whole circuit. So I was like, I'll just tag along and learn as I go. So I did. I did a full North America's Cup circuit my first season, which is not common. Like normally, you're supposed to stay in one track and learn that track and then learn how the physics of the sport. Um, but yeah, I did that for the first year, and then second year kind of started moving up. And my goal from the beginning was to qualify for the games, obviously, but I guess it started off as just this is a distant goal. And it's going to be really hard to achieve, and I just want to make it to the games. So it's top 25 female makes it to the game out of the whole ranking. So I was like, I just want to make it. That's all I want to do. So then second year, I did the circuit as well as North America's Cup, and there was an Intercontinental Cup at the time, which is kind of wasn't in between of North America's Cup and World Cup. Did a few of those and started getting more results in the lower circuits, and so then I guess my vision like started becoming more clear in a sense of okay, the chances of qualifying here are getting higher. That's cool. So then third year was when I did my first World Cup, I think. Um, and that year World Cup, like there were no results, but I was competing in a World Cup, so I was happy to be there and competing with those that I would have to compete at the games if I were to make it. So then I did that for the next 2 years, and the year before, or the Olympic year, was where I started um, the first half of the season doing all the North America's Cup, and I was winning them all, and Intercontinental Cup, and I was winning them all as well. And so things started to be like, okay, I guess throughout the 4 years, it went from I just want to qualify to okay, I want to be top 15 or I want to be top 20 because top 20 make a fourth run. So the last five don't actually get four runs. Four out of the four runs in the Olympics, you only get three because fourth run is kind of like a finals, and only top 20 make it. So it's like, okay, I just want to make top 20 and have those four runs. And then as it got closer, I was like, okay, now I want to be top 15. So I'm a very competitive person. So I was just like, we'll build up our objectives here as we go, but the expectations were big. So then, yeah, made it to the games, and then I remember finishing my last run. I came down and I was 12th, but then someone passed me after, so I finished 13th, and I remember being distraught. Like I was like, I'm so upset, and all of this. And Brazil like was just cheering me on, and they were so happy, and all my family and friends and like people around me were like, that's amazing. Like 13th is incredible. So it took me a few days to actually like take it all in, and then in hindsight, I'm like, wow, like 13th for my first Olympics and only 4 years in the sport is quite good. So
Incredible. No, it's very good. It's Brazil's second highest overall result in a Winter Olympic and the highest in a sliding sport. So you should be very proud of yourself. But I can see how you're just so hard on yourself. And the best athletes in the world are that way. Is that something that you need to work on? Like, how do you deal with that? Because I imagine that can't always be good. Although it gives you great results, it must be hard on yourself.
For sure. I think that's one of my biggest strengths, but also biggest weaknesses. Um, Last year was a good example of that, where I formally changed my team. So I had a new coach. I changed it to compete in the same team as my fiance. So we compete against each other. But we were on the, so I had just changed teams, which meant I also changed my sled. And so the equipment itself was totally different. And the equipment, the sled I came from before was like on a different spectrum, end of the spectrum from the sled I am on now. So being on a new sled takes adjusting, takes learning. And it was a summer where I had worked the hardest, like physically, to be as fast as I could. And then it came to the season and I had changed sleds. The height of my saddle was, which is the part where we push and lay on, probably a different kind of saddle than you guys normally speak of.
I love
Love
that
it.
though. That's awesome.
So the height had changed and like it was a whole new thing for me. And my push was actually the slowest it's ever been last year, and my results didn't reflect how well I was sliding because of that. And my partner was doing amazingly. She was pretty much medaling every race. So for me in the past, if I was upset with a race, I could just go home. I didn't have to go to a award ceremony. Like it was done. I could just process it myself and it was done. But being with her, I was upset with myself, but had to go to a award ceremony and like be happy for her, which I obviously was. But for me, it was really, really hard year in a sense of like I said, I'm a competitive person and I unfortunately compare myself a lot to other people. So that part was really challenging for me, like to the point where I considered even not continuing on in the sport. Um, so that I would say is one of my biggest weaknesses in terms of like I'm just so hard on myself that I close off and I don't see what's good and and like we were 3 years from the games, so it's not a huge deal, that's the time that's a perfect time to go and learn a new equipment. But I didn't see any of that until it was kind of more clear. I had time to think of it in the summer and did a lot of psychology work and hypnosis. Like I was doing all these things to try and just clear my mind, to come in this past season new, let's just say, and I guess it did work. So it's one of those things that people tell you. Well, I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason, but I also choose to ignore that sometimes. But then in hindsight, when you look back, you're like, okay, this probably was meant to be the way it was meant to be. So
Dang. Thank you for the honesty on that. That's big to be able to sit there and admit, like, yeah, dude, I'm hard on myself. And sometimes I don't want to go to that ceremony, but I do, and I put a smile on my face. So that's
for
huge.
sure.
Good on you for putting in the work too to get that figured out. I had a question for you, but then the hypnosis thing kind of really grabbed my mind. I'm into hippie stuff like that, okay? I freaking love it. So please tell us a little bit about what that hypnosis what was that? Well, how many sessions? What did you guys do in the sessions? What kind of stuff happened? Did she put you to sleep and put good things in your subconscious? Like, what was that?
Yeah, I was, I guess, just desperate for anything that would help me think clearer or think better, think more positively, I think is the correct word. So yeah, I went to this hypnosis guy here in Calgary, and it was, I want to say, underwhelming to what I envisioned it. I envisioned, those shows you go and people hypnotize you and make you do crazy things.
Yeah.
But it definitely was not that. Like how I would describe it is more of like a deep meditation that they get you into, and doing some research after, because I came out of my first session. I was like, okay, I feel like I just went for meditation and I didn't feel hypnotized, let's just say. So I did some research and it was saying apparently some people are more subject to actual like hypnosis and out of body experience and some aren't. So I just went with the fact that I'm not that person.
Mm.
But I kept going. I had committed, I think, to 4 sessions and they were each 1 hour session. And it was like you'd lay there on a couch and he would talk you through things and kind of try and find experiences. But I remember him being like, hey, so let's think back to the earliest moment in your life um where you felt like you didn't perform or something like that. And he'd be like, okay, but I don't want you to think it. It's just gonna come to you. And I remember having such a hard time because I'm like, how do I not think about this? And he's like, so what did you come up with? And I'm like, nothing. Like I didn't think about it. I'm not sure. So then I just felt pressured at times. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to think about this. So then you'd tell him what this scenario was, and he'd be like, okay, now again, like, is there a time before that? But don't think about it. And I remember that being so hard for me, but I don't know if you guys know the Aura ring.
Mhm.
It's like a ring that tracks your sleep and your HRV and all that stuff. So I wear it on the daily, but I remember coming out and I went on the app and it said that I had just had like a 45-minute nap. So I was like, oh wow, like I was in a zone where my body was actually being like restoring, let's just say. But it didn't feel like hypnosis. It just to me felt like a deep meditation. So I only did the 4 sessions with him, and then that was close to my season starting already. And I didn't, and he would give me these recordings to listen to at home. So every night I was doing these recordings, and it was again felt like meditation. But I think that did help me in hindsight. I didn't think of it as like I got hypnosis or got all these ideas put into my brain. But it's funny because when I started getting results, my partner's mom was like, maybe that hypnosis did have something to do with it, you know? So I don't know. Maybe, I mean, it didn't have any negative effects. I'll say that.
I'm a big time believer in like rewiring your subconscious, tapping into the quantum realm, putting good vibes, good situations in your head. You can experience an event mentally without actually experiencing it. Your body doesn't know the difference. You can still create the same emotions, right? So if you can envision yourself ripping down the track, winning a gold medal, and you can physically feel yourself get the goosebumps, you've technically just lived that experience. Your body doesn't know any different. You just set the course towards experiencing that, if that makes any sense. Again, that's way off into hippie land. I got another random question for you about the suits you guys wear. Um, Man, you ever got to just rip a fart and then that thing gets trapped in there and like that's a genuine question because it happens to me in my coveralls all the freaking time.
Oh, for sure. That happens to everyone all the time too. I think like I mean, we talk about this as so our sport is mixed men and women. Like we have change rooms, and these change rooms are just a big open room with benches, and we all change in there, and it's men and women together, and it's like it's normal for us. So, anyways, you get those conversations going, and it happens so often to people, especially like during races, and you have because these suits are really thin, hey, so you have a jacket and you have pants like snow pants on and you have this big jacket so you go up until the line up until they give you a 30-second countdown and then you take your clothes off and then you have your coach standing there too, so yeah, it can be pretty embarrassing I guess at times.
That's gonna happen. Um,
Yeah,
They call
happens to the
that
best of us.
turbo in the industry.
that's
Exactly,
nos.
exactly.
So it sounds like a pretty cool dynamic then amongst the athletes because that was kind of the other thing I was thinking too. Like, is there kind of that prank culture? Like, is anybody switching up gear? If you're all in a big room like that, man, there's got to be kind of some of that fun and banter. Hey.
Back in the day, it sounds like people had a lot more fun in it. We've said that the sport has just become so serious, like the new athletes coming in, it's just all about results and all about themselves. The culture has changed a lot. So so my coach has been in the sport for over 20 years, and when him and other coaches get together and talk about the days in the past, like people were pranking each other all the time, like terrible things where they just like would, I don't know, switch sleds or switch parts in the sled, like dangerous things too.
Oh, wow.
But today I would say like not really. We all know each other. We all can get along with each other because if you tell me you know someone in skeleton, I probably know them because it's such a small niche sport. Which makes it cool because I know that's one of the things that kind of made me want to go into skeleton is when I was in bobsleigh. I loved the international tour, like just getting to know so many international athletes and all all the different lifestyles that they live in, the different cultures, like that was super cool for me. And that's kind of what made me want to go into skeleton. So that's like we all know each other and we all know a lot about each other. But I would say the prank stuff doesn't happen anymore. It's very serious business these days.
You know what though? That's very much like rodeo as well. And I think the world is just it's not like it used to be, right? Everything's so serious and but in a way that's good, in a way that's bad. But you talk about meeting all these athletes. You met your fiance Kim in the circuit. Tell us about what that was like. Did you like tell her, "Hey, nice saddle," or how did it start?
Yeah, it started COVID year. So COVID year for us was quite intense because in we had still had to travel internationally. And so we had to have all these COVID tests and there was all these guidelines that you had to have in order to be able to compete and you had to pass or test negative twice in a week before you could compete. And long story short, a lot of the hotels that we had stayed in had closed because of COVID. So I ended up staying the whole pretty much circuit in the same accommodations as Kim, and we had a lot of time to spare. So we would slide, and you couldn't do anything else. Like you would just go to you couldn't even go to the grocery store. Like had to be pretty much one person, one designated person to go to the grocery store. So we would stay in the hotel and just chat for a long time, or we would go for walks and just chat. And then I guess that's how we got to know each other really well and develop feelings. And that's how it started.
Slid into each other's hearts.
That's right.
Oh, well done, Cole. Well done.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
it must be tough though. Like it must be tough to compete with someone you love. And like you said, when one of you wins, the other one has to be there as well, no matter, what happened. What's that been like for you to not only live with someone, love someone, but also have to compete with them?
Yeah, it's funny because we literally spend 24/7 together. The only time we're apart is when I'm at work and she's at home. So we have the same coaches, like same sled coach, same physical coach. We have the same physios. So when we go to a physio session, we might as well book it together because we have one car, so we might as well go together. Um, but yeah, I think in the beginning it was really hard, more for me than for her. She's a super selfless person, so she's always like willing to help and to offer help, whereas I'm more of the competitive person, so I'm like, I need to win, you know? So in the beginning, it was really a challenge to for her to be like, "Hey, I'm giving you all this information, and I'm not getting much back." Let's just say, but also I didn't have a ton to give back because I was still in my learning years and still learning a lot. So I think it was a good balance in terms of she has been in the sport for twice as long as I have, and she started when she was 13, 14. With the German program. So it was like super strict, and they had all these theories and all this knowledge, whereas I kind of just got thrown into it. So I want to say, more of an open mind and just like feel for things, whereas she was more like theory, plus feeling it because she just had years of experience. So I think it was a good lesson between the two of us where I was able to offer like, hey, this is just what I do. I felt this, so I did this. Whereas so she learned from that part, whereas I was learning from her in terms of like, hey, this is how the corner works. This is what you're supposed to be doing. So it was a good balance between the two of us, but it was definitely a challenge. And it took a few years and a few seasons to learn how to deal with it all, learn how to I think last year was the biggest one for me. And yeah, so now I don't know. For me, I have a mindset where so our team, we call it Team BB, Team Brazil Belgium, and it's just her and I, and our coach. And so we just say when one of us can beat a big nation team, like that's a bit massive win for both of us because we're both small nation sports, or we're not a small nation. Brazil is not a small nation, but in the sport it is. So we call it small nations. But yeah, it's just the two of us, and we've put our funds together and try and battle against the big nations with the big bucks. And when we can beat them, it's a big win for both of us.
Dang, no doubt. That's kind of a cool little dynamic you guys have going on in there.
For
Side
sure.
note, I wrote two skeleton jokes for you. Would you like to hear them?
I would love to hear them.
Okay, here we go. Why don't skeleton athletes fight each other?
Why?
They don't have the guts.
Did you write
Well,
this yourself? That's pretty
I did.
good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Me and my grade 3 brain. Here's the next one. Why are skeleton athletes always cold?
Why?
They're chilled to the bone. Okay, Felipe, back to you.
Oh dear,
Wow.
I gotta pay Cole
Impressive.
overtime now. I gotta pay him overtime. Nicole, aside from being an Olympic athlete, medal winner, just badass to the bone, you're a nurse. You have the most selfless job in the world. It takes a special kind of human to be a nurse. You know, you're serving others. It's a real purpose thing. How do you how do you do both? Like your schedule's crazy. I follow you on Instagram. You're traveling the world, and every day you seem like you're in a different place. When do you work as a nurse, and what's that like balancing your lifestyle?
Yeah, so I work, my position is a casual position. So I kind of work when they need me and I can show up when I can, let's just say. In order to keep my license active as a registered nurse, I have to work at least every 6 months. So sometimes that's a challenge, especially lately because our seasons are 6, 7 months. So this year, for example, we left in September from Calgary, and I work in Calgary, I should say, at the Children's Hospital. So I left in September, and we only got back in January for 1 week before we were off again. And in that week, that was kind of the 6 month mark. So I went and did a couple shifts before I went back into season. Um, I would say in the beginning it was a lot more stressful because I had to work my way into getting more funding from my federation. I had to show results, and especially from the Olympic Committee to have their support behind me. So in the beginning, it was a lot of self funding, and that meant I was working a ton. And work for me would be from end of season to beginning of season. So pretty much from March till September. And in the beginning, I would work night shifts and I would work day shifts, and my unit was 12 hours, 12-hour long shifts. So I was trying to work overtime. I did travel nursing as well during COVID, where I was traveling north of the province to help out where they needed. So I would work out of hotel rooms and like cook out of my hotel room. So it was intense in the beginning for sure. And then after working my shifts, I would just go and train. I tried doing it where I would go right after a night shift and try and train that way and just, kind of figured out what would work and what didn't for me. And then as I started to get results, I started getting more funding from the Olympic Committee and from my federation and from the Brazilian government. And yeah, so since then, I've just every year been able to work a little bit less, which is great because I get to focus on the recovery and actual training. So yeah, and nowadays I work only 8-hour shifts if I'm working, and I'll usually train right after it. But this period is our off season, so March, April, we don't have to really do any physical training if we don't want to, but I always like to do things. But this is kind of the period I like to go and try out different sports or go and do different things that I can't do in season. But it's also the time that I can work more, so I try and utilize this time to make some money so that, well, now we have a house, so there's bills to pay. So yeah, it's a little bit of a balance, but I like to think of it, if I work too much, it's hard to think of it this way, but I like to think of it as kind of a break from the 100% focus on skeleton, which didn't do me so well last year. So it's kind of a bit of a distraction, a little bit of normalcy, I guess, outside of skeleton. So it's a good balance.
That's huge at casual nursing and even get to go travel nurse, make some really good coin, bank it away. Just to put it
For
into
sure.
perspective, what does it cost to go do a season of your sport?
Yeah, that's a good question. Including everything, so travel, accommodations, coaching, material, all of that. Between the two of us, I think we spent, I want to say 120,000 euros in one season.
What's that
So
convert to, Philippe?
it's like
Nicole probably better than
one,
me.
160, 170,000, I would say,
Canadian.
Canadian.
Dang,
And
even
how
that.
much of that,
Yeah.
like how much of that is the Brazilian government helping you and the Olympic
Um,
Committee?
yeah, today I would say 100% of it is covered either by my federation, Olympic Committee, government, or
Nice.
Kim's part. So we join our finances. So I'm very thankful that I don't have to spend out of pocket anymore. I
Mm.
don't make money out of it, so it's just like you're breaking even, but at least I'm not spending my own money. Um, but yeah, it is a huge cost. The biggest cost goes into coaching, and then research and development into like faster material, especially leading up to the games. And then our travel, so accommodations, flights, and we're paying on top of coaching fees, we're paying all of their accommodations, all of their food and car rentals and all of that. So you're pretty much living every week traveling somewhere new. And that's where the money or the pricing accumulates, let's just say.
Dang, I just love hearing the back end stuff like that, all the fine details that, because I really have no idea. And like, I know my sport costs a lot with trucks and trailers and horses and having to get yourself to rodeos and pay your own entry fee and stuff, but we're in very similar boats. You
For
know,
sure.
your sport is very, very similar to what we have going on too. So I love hearing how everybody makes it work and keeps the dream alive. And sure, you're not making money doing it, but you love what you do. So that's
For
awesome.
sure. And fun fact, actually, Kim's parents deal with horses, not the Western riding though, English style riding.
Hmm.
And her dad has coached dressage for as long as I think he's lived.
Right.
And her mom used to be a rider for, she did eventing,
Hmm.
and now she actually works with horses. So she kind of scouts horses that she thinks has potential, and she trains them like the basics and then sells them to someone to ride them. So she's had, I think, two or three Olympic horses that have actually gone to the games. So yeah, she has horses and children that have been to the Olympics.
The Olympic rings run in the family.
Yeah,
That is awesome. And the saddles. And the saddles.
And the
and the
saddles.
saddles.
Nicole, thank you so much for making the time to chat with us. Best of luck with the rest of your season, with the Olympics coming up in 2026, right?
That's right. Yeah, in February.
Let's go 2026 for sure. We're going to be seeing you there, and I know you're going to kill it. And we have a last question that we ask all our guests. I'm going to let Cole take the reins on this one, but I just want to thank you for making the time to chat with us.
Yeah, thank you for the invite. And you did just get married too, no?
Yeah, just got married.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
He's still getting used to washing his hands with that thing on, probably.
Man, I take half the bar of soap every time I go to wash my left hand.
Yeah,
It's
and
terrible.
lotion. Putting lotion on your
Mm,
hands is a hard task with rings on.
I
it's
believe it.
tough. It's tough. It's
Tell
very. It
me,
weighs a lot. It weighs a lot.
Always a lot, yeah.
all right. So our last question, Nicole, podcast is should have been a cowboy, and since you are not a cowboy or a cowgirl, we like to ask our guests who don't walk in our boots, what kind of cowboy or cowgirl would you want to be if you were not a skeleton athlete? And that could be like dressage, hunter jumper, roper, ranch cowboy, cowgirl, whatever you want.
Hmm. I feel like I have to say English writing because otherwise Kim's mom will not be happy with me. So I would say probably jumping. I think it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
It is pretty cool.
Or eventing because I seem to just like the volume of training. So I feel like for eventing you have so many different events you have to train for. So
Very cool. Nicole, an eventer.
That is awesome. And I feel like there's a lot of parallels in what you do and rodeo cowboys because you got to go through the pain. Their learning curve is very steep. The adrenaline, it's there's definitely a lot of parallels. So you're definitely a cowgirl at heart.
for sure. Just the wrong kind of weather.
Thank you so much, Nicole. We'll chat
Thank
soon.
you.
Thanks, Nicole.
Thanks. Bye.
Wow, wow, wow. Our first Olympic athlete on the show.
How cool is that?
That's freaking badass, dude. Like, that's an
That is
Olympic
badass.
athlete.
I never thought about that until you just said it.
Yeah, that
Nice
kind of just
jokes,
popped
by
in my
the way.
brain. Thank you.
When
You
did
like
you
those?
Write those.
I did write
When
those.
did you write those?
I mean, they're pretty easy. I mean, you put skeleton on the paper and you can make a brain bubble off that pretty easy.
But did you write those while we were doing the interview, or did you
No.
write that one? Oh,
I had them
okay.
ready for the first time we were gonna have her on.
Oh yeah, let's have a little backstory here. Young F Later here.
Oh,
I
frick, yeah.
I didn't realize that at the time it changed. So poor Nicole came on, and then Cole was messaging me like, "Hey, Nicole's online, and I'm in Patagonia. God knows what I was doing, no internet." And then when I went to log on in an hour, it was like I saw the messages. I'm like, "Oh no! Oh, look who it
No.
is! The Tiger King,
It's El Tigre.
I can hear you now.
El Tigre. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm
frick.
good. What are you up to in your little? Cole's got you locked up in the back room again?
Yeah. No, I'm working. He's in our bedroom.
That's funny because Clara's locked up in my back room as well. I don't know. Clara, can you come out? Are you appropriate?
Are you appropriate?
Clarita? It's also the bathroom of the Airbnb. Amor?
Amor.
She really is trapped in there.
Yeah, did you
Yeah,
it
I
locks
locked
from
her
the
up.
outside, Felipe. You
Oh, there
gotta
she
unlock
is. There she is. Let me.
Clarita.
Hi.
Wait, I can't hear anything. I'm painting my nails. Sácame el
Okay,
video.
she's got another.
Oh.
Oh, she got another thing in her ears here. Can you hear them?
Hi.
Hey, Clarita.
How are you? I can't hear anything. I can't put this. I never paint my nails, and I'm terrible and try to do a good job. But at least it's
I haven't gone to
transparent.
the nail salon in like a month, and mine are looking crazy.
Oh,
no,
yours are
but they
nice
look
though.
good.
Yeah.
They
I-
look like
I
she
went
rides
to
a
the-
broom.
They look-
Don't say that
I-
to me.
Okay. What do you say?
He thinks I'm a witch.
He called her a witch. When should have been a cowboy turned into should have been a housewife. Welcome back to the show.
How is immigration, Cole?
here?
Well, my first run-in with immigration was phenomenal. I've had two
Yeah.
run-ins with them now. They love me in
Run
that back
two.
room.
That is awesome. Well, you feel more Latino now, right?
Wait, say that one more time.
What was that?
You feel more Latino now?
I do. I do. I literally wore a Kime shirt to show my love for America yesterday.
He was like, "Look at me, I'm white."
Oh my goodness. So
No need to worry about me. Don't get the mustache. Don't let the mustache worry
Yeah,
you.
it's just the
I'm white
stash.
as they
English is my
come.
first language, I swear.
swear God.
Well, Tiger, when are we going to see you next? Are you coming up to Calgary soon?
Yeah, so I don't know if you heard anything about the baby horse that I bought.
Oh my God. Before you said horse, I thought you were going to end out with baby. I was like,
No,
what are you,
I bought a
pregnant?
baby.
Yes. No, well, you hadn't said bought either. Okay. To be fair.
One, right? That with a beautiful white face?
No, not that one. Jack, he's a little straight sorrel, very cute, very awesome.
Oh,
Yeah,
I haven't heard
so
about yeah.
we were going to basically I did a little deal with Grady. He's going to train him and then we're going to sell him at a sale next year. Well, we were going to futurity him in Claire's home in May.
Nice.
And then we
Nice.
just found out that futurity doesn't have open and he's not sired by a Royal Crown stallion. So we can't futurity him there. But so I was going to come up for that. Apparently the border is being crazy with both Canadians and Americans alike, like going over
No
to the
way.
other side. So I want to give myself a little bit of a buffer and not like the last time I was there was in October. And I think I'm going to try to push coming out again until June so that
Okay.
I don't have any issues. Because the other thing is like I'm going to be driving this RV rig up there and I know they're going to give me troubles and look through it. So
what?
Oh, 100%.
yeah, because they're going to be like, why are you bringing this with your whole life in here?
Yeah. Why is your cat asleep in the bed?
Yeah, because I live in it.
Where is the cat? We know now.
Where is Chunky? Hang on a sec.
Steens.
It's funny though. It's very unfortunate that this, after so many years, centuries of great relations with our southern neighbor, is like, what's
Yeah.
happening?
We're going in the wrong direction. It's like, come
But
on.
where is how? Oh, look at him, so cute. Hola, gordo.
Meow. Mi perro o mi gato.
Mi gato.
Wow, he has crazy eyes, eh?
So
He's got big old
cute.
eyeballs on him.
Look at him. So cute. He
Look at
looks
that belly.
gordo.
Look at that belly.
So how long can you stay in Canada or like US? Like for you, Cole?
We don't know.
Yeah, they said 6 months is like the absolute max, and they want to give you 6 months for like if you have to, if something goes wrong, you got to stay in the hospital for a bit, or you got to get some affairs in order. They'll give you up to 6 months. But that lady was telling me like it's more like 4-ish months. And for every month, every 30 days you stay in America, you need to spend minimum 30 days in Canada to like offset those days.
And I just saw something on Instagram. I mean, who knows, right? Instagram tells you whatever. I don't know if it's true or not. But and now Canadians, if you're going to spend more than 30 days in the US, you got to notify them. Is that fact?
It's like an I-94 thing. You got to essentially like, I mean, they took my fingerprints when they denied me and like took me in the back room and everything that day. But if you're going to be in the US over 30 days now, yeah, you got to like register, give them your fingerprints.
So here's the thing though, is I was looking into this I-94 situation. Essentially, nothing has changed except that they're now enforcing it because it was something that was like if you entered via plane, like that information is kind of like automatically done for you if you come through an airport, but now they're definitely going to make people like adhere to it at the physical borders as well. So I don't really know what the deal is. It's super frustrating. We've spoken to I had a very annoying conversation with an immigration lawyer who was from Mexico. Like even though I called a firm in
Not even from
the
Canada.
US.
He's an illegal alien giving you
Yeah,
advice.
she
on
was
what you
like
should do.
giving me advice on how to whatever. And then she basically said, I cannot legally advise you to do this, but I know that it is the easiest way. And then she basically told me, like, if he enters the country legally with a passport scan, cool. And then we get married while he's here. He can't come here for the purposes of getting married.
Yeah.
But if we
Oh.
get married while he's here, that we can push our green card application through more quickly, which to me sounds crazy. Like,
No, you should definitely
that
get
sounds
married.
scary.
I was gonna say that. I was like, just get married, hombre. Like that's fucking.
I mean,
But wait,
You seem to love each other.
it's
I'll be
on
the
Cole,
priest.
it's on Cole's timeline.
I'm
We're
fine.
talking about it. We're talking
How
about it,
long
dude.
you can't stay in Canada? For you, it's the same thing?
It's
6
supposed to
months?
be the same thing. Like I spent 5 months there last year with no problem.
Right.
But
But
I
who
don't
knows
know.
now, right? I think it's just right now, right? I think things are gonna calm down in a couple months. We'll be back to normal.
Everybody, it's just the dudes at the top who are having a dick
Yeah.
measuring contest, and
Yeah,
like anything,
exactly.
it bleeds down
Yeah.
into everything that we do, and people get riled up, and so
And
yeah,
now we have dick measuring contests every day.
and now we're about to have one ourselves. So yeah, I don't know, dude. It's just a bummer because you're right. It isn't the people itself that are bummed with each other. It's just the upper ups, man. We're all
Yeah.
good, dude. I come down here, and
Yeah.
Americans are stoked to see a Canadian, right? Like it's not like they
exactly.
say it is.
But I'm sure it'll get back to normal. But anyways, we're excited to see you soon, Tiger. Hopefully June then. June
Yeah.
we'll be seeing your pretty face in Alberta.
Yeah. I really
the hot.
miss Alberta, and I'm like I was thinking about it the other day because Cole's family has like talked about their property and what they want to do with it in the future, and I was like, I gotta get back out there and give myself a good visual in case I don't get to see it again.
Oh, really? They going to
What?
sell?
What's happening?
All right, we're gonna pump the brakes right there. There ain't nothing in stone.
There's nothing happening.
We're just having family talks because like Rave got her visa approved to come nurse in Arizona,
Nice.
right? So she's leaving. Nana's 92 years old. Mom and
Wow.
dad just spent a month road tripping and essentially looked at their lives like, yo, we got 20 years left. How do we want to spend it? Like, where do we want
Yeah.
to spend it? What do we want to spend it doing? So we're just having family chats.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. If you need anybody, if you need anyone to take care of the place, you got a trusty Brazilian.
We do actually, yeah. That's one of the things is when it comes down to winter and nobody's there, somebody's got to be there.
Yeah, someone's got to be there if you're gonna keep it
I
in the
will.
family.
Yeah,
Yeah, Clarita will
absolutely.
muck stalls and do whatever she needs to do.
We just got 11 cats you got to feed.
Oh, I love cats.
Honestly,
Philip is
yeah.
not that
The cats are the
not
best part,
that
and they all
lover,
have-
but I am.
They have stupid names like Gray Baby, Pom Pom, Frida,
Pom
and
Pom.
Diego.
Oh, perfect. They're like Mexican names.
Diego, yeah, we got a couple in there.
Perfect. I can pronounce it.
Sounds like your family.
Exactly.
Frida, Pom Pom, Diego.
Yeah, that was all bridesmaids in Clarita's wedding party.
Yeah, exactly. That's Clarita's family's name.
Exactly. So there are names that I can't pronounce and that I'm going to forget. You cat, get your come here. I was speaking Spanish with these animals.
There we go.
You with the fur.
right,
very
kids.
nice, gang. Well, that was a great
Very
pod,
nice.
my brother.
Yeah, great pod, buddy.
And we got another one coming up here right away. We will
Yeah.
catch all you hosers in the next one, eh?
See you soon, kids.
Peace out, brother.
See you. Enjoy. Have fun. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Besos.
Bye.